A lot of big guys to hit on Jake, to give him that heavyweight.
How is sparring been this camp? I know you, Tyson, actually go way back. What's your thoughts on that? Him saying he'd get revenge for Tyson?
Yeah, whatever he needs to motivate himself and whatever dreams he has in his head, but he's not going to beat me.
This fight does become a little bit of a dangerous one for Jake, not because Chavez Jr. is in his prime anymore. He's still going to be a shell of that early 20s Julio César Chávez.
Jake Paul has reunited with Mike Tyson to train for his upcoming fight against Julio César Chávez Jr., despite recently facing off in the ring. Tyson praised Jake's dedication and noted that he was back in the gym just a month later without taking any time off. The renewed partnership brings both experience and intensity to Jake's training camp.
I feel pretty good.
Yeah? Have you recovered well after that?
I don't know if I'm 100% recovered, but I feel good.
Yeah? Now, what can you tell us about how that went? Do you feel good about it? You have a fight with Jake Paul?
Yeah, it's over.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
What have you been up to after the fight?
I was in St. Bart's. I came back from St. Bart's, and now I'm starting. Yeah.
Are you getting back into training, or are you going to take a break from that?
No, I'll probably start next month.
Mike Tyson admitted that Jake Paul's punches had a real impact after their full-length bout. Tyson revealed that his body was sore the next day, specifically pointing out pain in his chest and back proof of how physical the fight truly was. Coming from a fighter known for his legendary toughness, Tyson's words speak volumes about Jake's power. It adds serious credibility to Jake's rise in boxing, showing that he's not just putting on a show, he's delivering real damage, even to the sport's most seasoned veterans.
Oh, no, I don't remember the fight that much. I kind of blanked out a little. Listen, know what I remember? Coming back from the first round, and then the next day I remember Jake is doing some kind of, I don't know, what was he doing at the ring?
Oh, yeah, a little bow at the end. He bowed.
And that's the last thing I remember. You know, but the day after the fight, the day after, I woke up and told my wife, why did I do that? I don't know. I just don't know what the hell goes on.
What did you think of Jake's power, man, when you were in there?
I don't remember it. But my body was really sore. Yeah, my body, my chest, my stomach and stuff was really sore.
The Jake Paul versus Mike Tyson fight stirred significant online backlash, with critics calling it a cash grab and questioning its legitimacy. Some even claimed the outcome was staged. Now, many expect the upcoming fight against Julio César Chávez Jr. to follow the same script. However, seasoned boxing insiders have pushed back against these claims, insisting that the Tyson-Paul bout was genuine. Observers who followed closely argue that Tyson wouldn't involve himself in anything fake, and the punches exchanged were very real. This defense has led many to take a second look at what Jake Paul is truly bringing to the ring.
See, Mike Tyson could have knocked him out there. Jake Paul's chin was wide open. But then Mike Tyson realised, just as he was about to throw that punch, that, oh no, I'm getting paid lots of money. I can't knock him out. So ridiculous, mate. This video has been sent to me so many times. It's went viral. People saying that Mike Tyson could have knocked him out. See, it was a scam. It was a scripted. But if you know boxing, you'll know exactly what's happened right here. Mike started to throw the punch as Jake Paul was moving, and he realised in that split second that if I throw this punch, it's going to miss because he's moving out of the way. So what did he do? Decided not to throw the punch. It's as simple as that, my friend.
Julio César Chávez Jr. has taken Jake Paul's challenge personally, believing Jake crossed a line by stepping into the ring with Mike Tyson, a legend Chávez deeply respects. In interviews, Chávez has voiced his intention to restore not only his own dignity but also Tyson's, viewing the fight as a chance to correct what he sees as a break from boxing tradition. For Chávez, this bout isn't just about winning, it's about sending a clear message to Jake and his critics. Legends still deserve respect in the ring.
We talked to Chávez previously, and he says this fight, he looks forward to getting revenge for Mike Tyson for what you did to him. I know you, Tyson, actually go way back. What's your thoughts on that, him saying he'd get revenge for Tyson?
Yeah, whatever he needs to motivate himself and whatever dreams he has in his head, but he's not going to beat me. So he's just going to be another legend that I'm going to beat and embarrass.
Well, you know, you always have big people at your fights. You know, have you sent any invites to the president?
Oh, not currently, not currently.
Who do you want? Who do you want to see there?
Man, we'll see. It's LA, so I think a lot of people will show up.
Listen, Badu Jack, basically said he'll offer you a title shot. You know, that's fast. I know you said. I heard you say earlier. You know, you can see it happening in a couple of years. What do you really think about that? When you know, I know you're looking forward to this fight, but like when you hear something like that, what do you think?
Yeah, no, I'm super interested. I had Nikisa contact his team behind the scenes, so those discussions are happening.
And you look at him and you think you could take him?
For sure.
Logan Paul fully understands the challenge his brother is about to face. While Jake has previously gone up against MMA fighters and older opponents, Logan knows Julio César Chávez Jr. is a different kind of test. This isn't just another publicity stunt, it's a fight that will demand real stamina, skill, and mental toughness. Logan pointed out that the pressure is greater now than ever before, with Julio's experience and technical ability making him a genuine threat, not just a recognizable name. All of that makes this the most serious and demanding fight of Jake's career so far.
Jake Paul versus Julio César Chávez Jr.
I think it's one of his toughest fights.
It's definitely his toughest fight. Jake, I feel like, has gotten stiffed a few times this year with who his opponents were gonna be. This is what I don't understand about people hating on him. He's not fighting tomato cans. Every single person that he fought had a chance to beat him. And by the way, people believed that they were probably going to beat
every time.
This guy is a real boxer. So it'll be another opportunity to show that Jake Paul is a real boxer.
Jake Paul has faced growing criticism from the boxing world over his choice of opponents. Many fans argue that he's avoided real risk, often fighting aging legends or athletes from other sports. Critics claim his rise has been driven more by marketing than true in-ring accomplishments. But Julio César Chávez Jr. is a different challenge. While he's no longer at his peak, he's still a seasoned, legitimate boxer with years of experience. A convincing win against Julio could finally shift the narrative around Jake's career. But if he loses, it may only reinforce what the skeptics have been saying all along.
Bro, it's actually getting annoying. Jake Paul, you aren't slick. What is this fight? It was just announced that Jake Paul's next fight will be against Julio César Chávez Jr. Are we serious? He's 39. I get he was a WBC champion, but that was 13 and 14 years ago. This dude is 39. How do you go from wanting to fight Canelo to fighting somebody Canelo smoked every single round when Canelo fought him? It wasn't even close. It actually makes me mad because I want to see Jake Paul fight somebody, an actual boxer, somebody good, because I really want to see if he's really about it. But he picks the worst fights. And I get it. He's making a ton of money. So we can't even hate. We can't hate. But I just want to see if he's really about being a WBC champion, really getting up in the ranks in the boxing. Bro, if he was really about it, he would have fought Tommy Fury again. But he doesn't want to do that. When he fought a real boxer, we saw what happened. And now we're fighting another washed 39-year-old. We already know how this fight is going to go. We already know Jake Paul is going to make a ton of money. At the end of the day, we can't hate, but this is getting annoying. Can we just fight somebody good? Somebody that's actually fighting right now? Bro, what are we doing?
Jake Paul has always taken a strategic approach when choosing his opponents. While some critics accuse him of playing it safe, others see that he targets names that spark attention and debate. Julio César Chávez Jr. fits that formula perfectly. Experienced, well-known, and still active enough to be a real threat. It's a calculated risk with a high potential payoff. A win in this fight could reshape how Jake is viewed in the boxing world. He's not just looking to rack up wins, he wants to be remembered for the fights that
the expectations,
a lot of
and
pressure,
then, the pressure, and he got involved with drugs and this and that, and he seems like he's doing better and he's doing good, and I've seen him train lately. I've talked to the father, and he says, look, if my son shows up to the ring the way I've seen him in the last few months, I think he said like last 6-7 months, he goes, yeah, he's gonna knock out Jake Paul.
Wow.
I'm like, okay, I'm sure a lot of people would love to watch that and see that. So, yeah, don't miss the fight.
Yeah.
June 28th. It's going to be crazy. No, it is. I mean, because Jake Paul actually has... It's not that he has something to prove, but he actually can prove something here. Chávez Jr. went the distance with Canelo, right? In Canelo's prime. And so imagine if Jake Paul knocks out Chávez Jr., then what?
Every move Jake Paul makes is intentional, and taking on Julio César Chávez Jr. is no exception. This isn't a random matchup, it's a calculated decision. Julio brings name recognition and credibility, but his inconsistent performances in recent years make him a manageable risk. That blend of danger and vulnerability makes this an ideal fight for Jake. A win would be a major milestone, but even in defeat, he'd earn respect for stepping up. In the eyes of his team and fans, it's a no-lose situation. The risk is real, but so is the potential reward.
Able to fight, and he's taking this far more serious, and he's not struggling with addiction issues like he has for so long in his pro career. This fight does become a little bit of a dangerous one for Jake, not because Chavez Jr. is in his prime anymore. He's still going to be a shell of that early 20s Julio César Chávez. But with 60 wins under his belt, if there is still any of that muscle memory left, there's still any go left in his body, because again, I hate to keep referring to it, doing drugs or having addiction issues does take its toll on your body, and sometimes it isn't recoverable, especially as you're going up in weight. Julio César Chávez, not a normal cruiserweight, so he's going to be moving up as he gets older. How does that entail what he's going to do in this fight? I don't know, but I'll tell you, I watched him ringside against Uriah Hall, and it wasn't an impressive performance when he beat Uriah Hall in a 6-round fight. Honestly, when I watched the fight back, it looked like the only reason he beat Uriah Hall in that fight was because Uriah, like most MMA fighters, when they come to boxing, don't take credence of the rule set, right? They get hit with a ton of shots that don't hurt them, but also they're getting hit with shots that are scoring against them. Uriah Hall didn't look overwhelmed in that fight at all. In fact, he looked like he was in the fight with Chavez Jr. And that in its own right is pretty damning, because while he won the fight, that was Uriah Hall's first boxing match ever. And Uriah was not a young guy at that point either. The point I'm making with all this is I get what Jake is doing here, and fair play to him. Again, you do have to remember Jake didn't have an amateur career.
The matchup between Jake Paul and Julio César Chávez Jr. is a savvy business move. Jake brings millions of followers and unmatched promotional power, while Julio offers legacy, a storied family name, and deep boxing roots. Though they come from very different worlds, their pairing captures attention across the board. Promoters understand that this kind of clash appeals to both hardcore boxing fans and mainstream audiences. It's more than just a fight, it's a full-scale event. Whether you support Jake or are tuning in hoping to see him lose, one thing's certain, people will...
Let's find a real boxer. This man's an ex-world champion. He's way smaller when he was competing.
Yeah.
He have to come up to my weight. He's the son of a legend. I'm now Puerto Rican.
Yeah.
He's Mexican. It's the best you could do. It's brilliant.
Yeah.
From a business standpoint, it's brilliant. You can't really do better than that if you're not trying to feed man to the wolves. But you're trying to make it appear so.
But do you reckon it's going to generate numbers?
Good question.
It depends how they market it.
It depends what Chavez comes on.
Yeah.
Because Jake won't be able to push this himself. It depends what Chavez comes on. If Chavez comes on some like, listen, bro,
I'm going to teach you boxing.
I'm going to teach you boxing. Yeah, then it can sell.
That type of energy.
But if he comes on the vibe we know he's on, which is why even his dad don't really mess with him.
Jake Paul has noticeably shifted from viral influencer to serious athlete. He understands that respect in boxing isn't given, it has to be earned. By choosing to fight Julio César Chávez Jr., Jake is making it clear he's in this for the long haul. He wants to compete at a high level, even if it means putting himself at risk. Beating someone with a respected name and a solid boxing background could be the turning point that changes how he's viewed. This time, it's not about him, it's about proving he truly belongs in the sport.
Got a former champion sitting over here to the left with a big name. Does this signal to the boxing world that you're looking to get back on that championship path, the pursuit of a world title?
Yeah, look, I always said it. I'm going to fight really tough people, and I'm going to fight big money fights. You know, this is prize fighting. And so I'm giving the fans what they want with every single fight, taking on tougher opponents, and this is just that.
I can't help but notice it's a cruiserweight fight. The co-main event is a cruiserweight world title. If you look just to your right, there are two belts sitting there on the stage. Is it at all in your mind, if you beat Julio César Chávez Jr., that a matchup with that man, Zurdo Ramirez, might not be far behind?
Yeah, 100%, man. This is what I came here to do, is become world champion and to create one of the greatest sports stories the world has ever seen. Going from Disney Channel to YouTube to world champion in 6 to 7 years, that's the most relatable and best sports story that any kid can get behind, and that's what I'm here to do, is inspire the next generation and do what no one's ever done before in the world's hardest sport, which is boxing.
You faced some hostile environments in the past, the Nate Diaz fight being one of them, but this might be the most hostile you've walked into. Southern California, 2 Mexicans on the card. What do you think about fighting in this type of atmosphere?
Man, the Mexicans love me, bro. Like, I'm stepping into my home environment. They love me more than they love this guy. You know, Mexico doesn't even claim him, so that's just the way it is. And I love my Mexican fans, and they've always been rocking with me since day one. And I'm going to show him who the real Mexican warrior is.
Veteran promoter Bob Arum has expressed strong skepticism about the upcoming fight. He questions whether Jake Paul's career represents genuine progression or is simply another carefully crafted spectacle. From Arum's perspective, facing an older Julio César Chávez Jr. doesn't prove much. True fighters challenge tough, active contenders, not faded names. Arum isn't convinced that Jake is seeking a real challenge, but rather the appearance of one. Until Jake takes on a younger, sharper, and currently active opponent, Arum refuses to regard him as a serious contender.
Jake Paul is not fighting a real fighter. That's not even boxing. I mean, Chavez Jr., you know, should have hung up. I thought he had hung up the gloves a long time ago. Jake Paul is not a boxer. You know, it's a spectacle. The Tyson event was sort of demeaning for the sport of boxing. I mean, Tyson was an old man, and what are we talking about? But again, if Netflix or somebody else wants to pay for that event, so, I mean, that's fine, but I have no interest in it. I have absolutely no interest in a Jake Paul Chavez Jr. fight because it's not boxing.
Julio César Chávez Jr. isn't stepping into the ring for a paycheck, he's fighting for pride. He sees Jake Paul's recent fights as an insult to boxing's rich history and believes it's his responsibility to restore the sport's honor. Julio thinks Jake has built his career by capitalizing on big names without facing true consequences. But this time, he promises it will be different. His mission is clear: to punish Jake and prove that boxing is not a stage for entertainers. For Julio, this fight is deeply personal, and he's approaching it with that mindset. A growing number of fans aren't hoping to see Jake win, they want to see him fall. They believe his rise has come at the expense of boxing's dignity. To them, Julio represents real lineage, hard-earned success, and years of true competition. If he wins, it won't just be a victory on the scorecards, it will feel like a win for the entire sport.
Breaking news, Jake Paul is going to be taking on former world champion Julio César Chávez Jr. in a fight that I think is going to fool a lot of people. Now, what do I mean by fool a lot of people? What I mean is people are going to, on paper, look at this and be like, oh, Jake Paul gets schooled here, gets schooled here. Chávez Jr. is 39. He was not known as a very disciplined boxer during his prime. That's one of the reasons he had such a heavy decline. He's also a lot smaller than Jake Paul. What I will say about Jake Paul is he is a genius, or his team and management are geniuses at giving him opponents that people on paper look at and be like, oh, Jake Paul's not a real fighter, he won't be able to beat this guy. This is very, 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 very minimal risk for Jake Paul. The only factor that could come into play here is if Chavez Jr. decides he actually wants to show up properly for this fight, conditioned, and use his experience to win. But Jake Paul, for me, and his team have been very, very careful about who they matchmake him against ever since the Tommy Fury fight. You know, ever since here, we haven't seen him in there with someone his own age, his own weight, and his own sort of experience. For me, if Jake Paul wants to be a YouTube boxer still, and he wants to be considered an influencer boxer, matchmaking him against these guys that on paper, oh, this is a big challenge for Jake Paul, in reality, not really, is okay. But I think if Jake Paul actually is what he says he wants to be, and he wants to make that step up, man, he's going to have to take risks.
Oscar De La Hoya believes fans are in for a dramatic showdown, viewing this as the perfect moment for Julio César Chávez Jr. to return with both power and purpose. According to Oscar, Jake Paul has yet to face an opponent with Julio's unique blend of skill and hunger. He expects this fight to be the kind that quiets doubters and satisfies those who feel Jake has been avoiding real challenges. This isn't just another headline, it could be the match that finally brings Jake crashing back to reality. Jake Paul's popularity is undeniable, but so is the criticism. Many detractors argue that his boxing career feels more like a performance than a true profession. The fight against Julio only adds fuel to that debate, while Jake insists he wants to be taken seriously. Many still view his journey as more about attention-grabbing than genuine competition.
The expectations,
A lot of
and
pressure,
then, you know, the pressure, and you know, he got involved with drugs and this and that, and you know, he seems like he's doing better and he's doing good. And I've seen him train lately. I've talked to the father, and he says, look, if my son shows up to the ring the way I've seen him in the last few months, I think he said like last 6-7 months, he goes, yeah, he's gonna knock out Jake Paul.
Wow.
I'm like, okay, I'm sure a lot of people would love to watch that and see that. So, yeah, don't miss the fight.
Yeah.
June 28th. It's going to be crazy. No, it is. I mean, because Jake Paul actually has... It's not that he has something to prove, but he actually can prove something here. Chavez Jr. went the distance with Canelo, right? In Canelo's prime. And so imagine if Jake Paul like knocks out Chavez Jr., then what?
Breaking news. Jake Paul is set to face former world champion Julio César Chávez Jr., a matchup that I think will surprise a lot of people. What do I mean by that? On paper, many will assume Jake Paul will get easily outboxed here. Chávez Jr. is 39 years old and wasn't known for being a disciplined fighter in his prime, which contributed to his decline. He's also significantly smaller than Jake. That said, Jake Paul, or more accurately, his team and management are masters at picking opponents who look tough on paper but actually carry very little real risk. This fight is another example of that careful matchmaking strategy. The only wild card here is if Chavez Jr. decides to show up fully prepared, in shape, and ready to use his experience to win. Since the Tommy Fury fight, Jake hasn't faced anyone his own age, size, or experience level. If Jake wants to stay in the influencer boxer lane, this kind of matchup suits him perfectly. You're appearing as a big challenge without the real risk. But if Jake truly wants to step up and be taken seriously, in boxing, he's going to have to start.
How good is Jake Paul's next opponent, Julio César Chávez Jr.? Can he pull off the upset and beat Jake? Now, Chávez Jr. in his prime was a really solid fighter. 46-0, four-time WBC middleweight champion. This is him against Sergio Martinez, a top 3 pound-for-pound fighter. Hurt him bad with the left hook, dropped him in the 12th round, nearly got the finish, but Martinez did end up winning this fight. And then after losing the title in 2017, this is him versus Canelo in 2017. Solid pressure fighter, good body shots, decent hand speed. But these are pretty much his only highlights in the fight, because he pretty much lost every round 12-0. But still, he did go the distance with Canelo. But then you get to his most recent fight versus Uriah Hall at cruiserweight. He still got some decent body shots, but he looks considerably slower fighting at a heavier weight class. His footwork is a bit plotty, and he's not as fast. Look, Chavez Jr., he's not a bad fighter. He's never been a bad fighter. But what he is very undisciplined and considerably slower and more flat-footed at 39 years old fighting at cruiserweight. The technicality, the experience, it will give him a 25 to 30% chance. But the youth, the size, the speed of Jake, that'll give him more of the edge.